Well, it almost went wrong. Don't think I can't see you dancing in the background there when the camera's on. Nah, we caught you out there. So once again, here we are. It's the Opinioneers episode 6.
Wow.
We've been doing this for 6 months now. Oh my
Wow.
goodness. Well, there's lots of people out there who've been disappointed and insulted, but there's plenty of scope for doing some more. That sounds very silly. So anyway, we discuss very loosely innovation and associated things. I'm Derek Cheshire. As it says, chameleonomist. I'll have to get my mouth.
You've got to get a better name for that, because clearly
innovationist, visiting professor, speaker, author, and radio presenter, and my colleague in crime here is Stuart Webb, strategist, fractional chief operating officer, scientific value builder, all-round business genius, and James Bond stunt double. And today we are going to talk to you about, Stuart, what are we going to talk about?
We're talking about mission oriented innovation. And you see, I've been practicing that all morning, Derek. Otherwise, that would have come out as something entirely different. So yeah, mission oriented innovation. Now, this, I think, is kind of the well, you know, as we sort of mentioned to each other, this one is kind of people want to get this going because they realize it is the way to solve those sort of, you know, hairy problems that we've got, such as global climate change and things like that. They are problems which involve many different stakeholders needing to come together in a way. And what you do is you put a framework, a sort of, you know, an overarching sort of policy together to say, we want to solve this. But the problem is, when you try and direct that, there is very little that you can actually do to ensure that the outcome matches the effort that goes in. And that's largely because of a couple of problems, because you're bringing together all of these different points of view. That's a network, and networks have got a couple of sort of things going for them. They're really good, but there are different types of network. There are advocacy networks. These are networks of people who get together in order to support each other. Well, it's clearly not an advocacy network you've pulled together. There's a learning network. Now, those are great. They're formed by professional associations, similar groups. They're largely driven by people who want to increase skills and increase knowledge. They want to support each other's learning. Well, this is where I think a lot of these things happen. What you've brought together with all of these professionals is they start to think they're there to learn and support this sort of thing, but they're not. They're actually an innovation network. And then innovation network needs slightly different dynamics to a learning network. And I think that's where a lot of the sort of mission-oriented innovation goes wrong. People go into it thinking it's a learning network because that's the sort of network they're used to, because they're brought together in order to learn from each other. Mission-oriented innovation is all about innovation network. And an innovation network is very different, and people don't know the difference. And that's where it all goes horribly wrong. Am I allowed to show a small slide in order to illustrate my point?
You can, and this is where everything goes.
This is where there we go.
I tell you what, that's how it was before.
Right. So here we have what I think is a good demonstration of an innovation network, and this is one from the Strategic Doing Institute. I've had meetings and I've worked with a little bit at the Strategic Doing Institute. They've got some great techniques for helping people do this sort of mission-oriented innovation in a way which actually produces results. And they talk a little bit about these sort of networks. And you can see what you've got networks of people which exist within what is a tight core. These are people that are well bound together. Perhaps they're in an enterprise together, or a government institute or something similar. And they network people. But there are these sort of spanning people that move between this network and another network in order to achieve a result. And this is where I think mission-oriented innovation goes wrong, because it is almost expected that these people that span these sort of porous boundaries between the different networks that are required to make all of this thing work, they think these people are somehow bound together. They're not. They are actually, if you like, ambassadors. They are people that are sent out from this network to another in order to advocate for them, in order to be able to bring together those thoughts. And too often those things are not thought through in these innovations.
Yeah, actually, a good example of this was I can't remember the name of the book. Kate Bingham's book, all about the developments of the COVID vaccine.
Yes. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's really interesting because she spans a number of different networks, as do some of her associates, but they were able to bring in things like submarine engineers and rowing coaches and things like that. But the I don't know, all the stuff that went on in the background was basically a whole load of civil servants trying to disrupt it because they
Yeah.
didn't understand how all this worked. But that was a perfect example. I know less than, what was it, 9-10 months to develop a vaccine, which was incredible, and it has been done with other problems. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great example.
and we're talking here about the sort of, almost these people, and I have been in this sort of thing where I'm sort of bringing to, connections that I understand. I mean, my background is, I was a scientist, but scientists are really highly focused. They become specialists in one tiny area. Probably the reason why I wasn't a particularly good scientist is because I used to get interested in other things, the connections between things. Now, it's great if you could be one of those people that can bring these networks and bring the sort of, the knowledge between them. But you're never going to be part of that core inner. Let's go back to my diagram again. I want to come on to this other one. You'd never be part of this core, tight core, because you're not a specialist, but you don't need everybody to be a specialist. You absolutely have to have these spanning, porous boundary people who go between the different networks in order to pull together different ideas, because otherwise insular is the wrong word, but it will not produce the result that you want. I'm not going to say any more than that because I should get I should get in a lot of trouble with some very intelligent people, but I've just used the word insular.
I've just invented a new term in my head. You have the porous boundaries.
Yes.
Well, that writing looked a bit suspicious. So what I was thinking, what on earth? What is that word, porous? But I was thinking the things that move through the boundaries could be porons.
Ooh, and now that is, yes, it does look a bit like porons.
It looks a bit like porons, but I'm just thinking, particles or bits of knowledge or whatever that can make it through the boundaries.
I like that. I like that very much. In fact, I'm going to adopt that. I will adjust this slide at some stage to make that porons. But you're right. You do need, you need to have this seepage. You need to have knowledge seeping through these. And and we're talking about these as people. They are largely people. But the reason that these people are so valuable is because they have enough understanding of this tight group to be able to carry the idea through to another group and see the connection. But what they don't have is the in-depth expertise. But once you bring those two groups together, once you actually start to bring the knowledge together, you get remarkable results. And that, I think, is where these mission-oriented innovations go wrong. Nobody understands, as you sort of illustrated earlier, Derek, nobody understands the value behind doing their best to actually let that innovation happen.
Yeah.
The tight core wants to somehow sink it back into the sort of expertise. And it's not always the advantageous thing to do, is have the expertise happening.
Well, a lot of our innovation networks, or things we still call innovation networks, have grown out of some of these knowledge transfer, these KTPs, knowledge transfer partnerships, which are all about sharing knowledge. But what do you do when you share it? Do you put it in a bucket in the corner of your office? What do you do with it? You need, as well as a knowledge sharing network, you need a doing network.
You do. And that brings me to the other slide that I wanted to bring up here. That we've just sort of talked about this, and this is the time where these networks need time to develop, which is why so often these things go badly wrong, because what happens is somebody expects this network to suddenly start producing results. Mission-oriented innovation takes time. we go from having to know each other, which is where we're just aware of each other's strengths, right the way through teamwork to collaboration, where we start innovating. Now, the thing that I think that this, when I said some of the techniques that I talked about, that I was learning and collaborating with people in the Strategic Doing Institute, are about finding how you can move from awareness through to collaboration as rapidly as possible, because innovation, particularly these really big, strategic, hairy problems, need you to move from awareness to collaboration as rapidly as possible. But the problem that most of us have is that we don't understand how this, the turf element impacts upon that, and we don't take the time to learn from each other, to make each other comfortable, so that we can get from awareness to collaboration as rapidly as possible.
I was just thinking there also briefly, one of the things when I do my innovation audits, not that I'm plugging anything here, of course, is I do a measurement of, for want of a better description, knowledge climate, and it's a 5-layer model, because every model has to have layers.
At least 5.
At least 5. But the interesting thing is, you can have a look at any organization and decide what level they are. Do they just have some knowledge? Do they share it amongst themselves, with other people? How do they share it? And the interesting thing is, if organizations are at vastly different levels, then there's an inequality. A simple example would be, Tesco club card. And Tesco, the club card user is a small person. Club card, Tesco, massive. There's a huge inequality there. They're sucking all sorts of data from you, and so it is with companies. Think Marks and Spencers and their just-in-time suppliers. They're at a huge disadvantage, and what that means is that, I was just looking at the word trust. You end up in this situation where people just aren't trusting anybody because of these huge this huge disparity in amount of knowledge that's actually shared. And people, to be honest, I don't know what you necessarily do about it if you're in the innovation space.
Well, this is where we come back to what I was saying before, which is, there are techniques. There are techniques to move people through this. Yes, there is a time element, but it's a bit like, any change initiative. How do you take somebody from one stage to the next rapidly? You've got to get them there through time. Now, you can do it. You can do it and just let it happen naturally, and that time will inevitably be longer. But if you're going to move rapidly, there are some techniques that we've now learned, which allow people to start understanding each other, to start moving through that turf to trust cycle from awareness through to collaboration as quickly as possible. And, you were saying about your audit. A lot of organizations, they get to teamwork, and they go, we've done it. Yeah. We've managed to get to the fact that the team is currently sharing knowledge, or the team is now aligned. We've done it. That's not enough, because being aligned is not the same as actually innovating, because innovating is a next level. Innovating is where people actually need to be able to have if you like, a space where those wacky ideas are not going to be looked at as, well, that's a bit of an oddity. Let's ignore that one and hope it goes away. You just have to make sure that you've got all of that, not only the teamwork, but the trust and everything built to the point at which collaboration starts to become the norm.
But the other interesting thing is, at the same time people are advocating that teamwork, they've also abolished the water cooler and the coffee machine.
Well, yeah. Well,
those are two of the best places in the universe for exchanging ideas.
They are, and I think I've told you this before, Derek. I was on was on a meeting with an IT director not very long ago. Well, actually, it was a long time ago now when I think about it. It was probably 18 months back when I said to this person, you now own the culture of bringing together that collaboration, because you have a lot of people who are now on video calls and they're no longer meeting together. So you have to reintroduce a mechanism for that to take place. So the IT director can implement a rule which basically says at the beginning of every meeting, 10 minutes time in order for us to just have a chat and exchange ideas with anybody else in the room that you're with. Because that's what we used to do in meetings, because meetings were that sort of thing. Now with so many people spread, somebody thinks that the best way to hold a video meeting is as soon as you get on with stuff. Whereas before, when you went into a room, you arrived a bit late, you had a bit of a chat, blah, 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 blah. And we have the opportunity to reintroduce those things under slightly engineered circumstances, I appreciate. But the fact of the matter is, why not? We've got to get back to this ability to collaborate, and we've got to do it somehow.
And the other thing, of course, is that with these meetings, people turn their cameras off and they're not actually there.
Not even going to criticize you for bringing that one up, because that one is one of my greatest bugbears.
Yeah.
Those cameras off and nobody's taking any notice. They're doing their email.
Yeah. And yeah. Do these meetings need to happen?
Well, we could always try and eliminate meetings and do things sensibly, but perhaps occasionally a directed meeting is required.
Indeed, but that's why, in a way, when they first happened, these stand-up meetings were so good, because people just didn't. They were too flipping lazy to stand up for an hour, so they got everything done in 10 minutes and went back and did their work. So
yeah,
I don't know what the video equivalent of a stand-up meeting is, but
I'm standing up at the moment. I don't think you can.
Well, luckily the camera is sort of chest height and above. So
stand up, have the camera looking up at your nose. I mean, there are ways.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, and to be honest, that's hit another problem, not another problem, another issue. If you say to your your IT director or whatever they were, you've got to have, I don't know, a way of capturing ideas, and you mentioned a whiteboard, they would think, oh, I'll install a whiteboard, and then they tell you it doesn't work. I've installed the whiteboard. But the thing is thinking back to my idea of chameleonomics, is you specify the things that have to be done, or the things that have to be achieved, but not how they're achieved. So you need a way of capturing ideas. Now, it could be a whiteboard. It could be it could be a waste paper bin. They capture ideas brilliantly. It could be the coffee machine. It could be absolutely anything. So I think we need a few more of those. So yeah, but that's the problem. Best practice that kills it as well.
Yeah, the problem we have, Derek, as we keep saying on this, is
we're right. Everyone else is wrong.
Yeah. These things, innovation is not something which is going to happen unless people actually set out to make it happen. And we have to do exactly that. So let's hope they start to do that soon. Otherwise, you and I won't have any work anymore.
No, but there we go. We're always hopeful. So yeah, we're almost at that end point,
We are, aren't we? I don't know how we've done it again.
I don't know. We can talk rubbish forever.
I'd appreciate talking rubbish for another couple of hours, but I get the impression it would be too long.
It might be too long for people. But I haven't made my rubbish announcement. It's not a rubbish announcement, is it?
I don't know what your rubbish announcement
King's Awards for Enterprise.
Yes.
Should anybody be listening who is, well, should anybody be listening, full stop. But should anybody be listening who is in a position to apply for one of these, the King's Awards for Enterprise they come up every year. You can enter in the categories of innovation, international trade, sustainable development, and promoting opportunity through social mobility. So, but I'm particularly interested in the Innovation Awards because I help assess them. They can be great for your business. You get a nice flag to fly outside your office. You get invited to Buck House. And more importantly, the closing date has not yet passed. The closing date is September the 12th. So if anybody out there is interested, Google King's Awards for Enterprise and check out the innovation section and possibly apply. It would, well, it would be great for you. So we'll see.
I'll tell you what, Derek. If ever I have an innovative idea, I will bring that straight to you.
Well, you could just enter and try and bribe me, but I don't get to choose which ones I assess. So there we go. So
brilliant. I look forward to seeing the results of that. I'm sure you'll be talking about that next time.
We might not have finished by next time.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because we start assessing on the 13th, I think it is, and we've got 5 weeks. So our next little chat will be on the second Friday in October, which I can't remember the date now. I should have looked it up. But yeah, we won't have finished quite by then. So
second Friday in October, Derek, is the 11th.
So it is, because I know I'm at a conference the following week. Yeah, so the 11th of October for all those people. So we won't quite have finished. But if you want to enter, as I said, search for the King's Awards for Enterprise on the government website and apply. You never know.
Sounds like a fantastic opportunity.
It does. So, well,
where do you apply?
It's you've actually as I said, go to the government website and then you apply on the website.
So it's
you have to.
.uk.
It's gov.uk, Kings-Awards-for-Enterprise. So it's easier just to search King's Awards for Enterprise and let Google do the work.
Sounds excellent.
It is indeed. So, well, until next time, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. See you next month then. Bye-bye.